252.
Hey, welcome to another episode of 252. This is Frank G here along with
Simply Angela.
Johnny Blaze.
Cool Water Kurt.
I'm usually Ralphie D.
Are you Ralphie D today, or are you like you could be The Rock, you could be Vin Diesel, you could be from The Matrix?
I'll be Vin Rock.
Vin Rock, there you go. Is that like Kid Rock's cousin though? I would avoid that.
I like Rock Diesel.
Rock
That's
Diesel.
my-
No, he's
Rock
from- he's
Diesel,
from the
baby.
Flintstones.
That's my gay porn name, Rock Diesel.
Rock Diesel.
All right. Well, our topic for today is classic 80s and I guess partly 90s slasher films. You know, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Chucky films, and probably a bunch of other ones if we throw them in there.
Oh yeah.
There's all kinds of things we can sidestep into. All the stuff you remember from the horror movie aisle of the movie rental place. Now, those boxes that would scare you when you never even saw the movies. Just the boxes themselves were terrifying.
Like Leprechaun starring Jennifer Aniston.
Terrifying.
And
Or
Warwick
Leprechaun
Davis.
in the Hood starring Ice-T.
Oh, yeah. That was a great one.
That was scary
Yeah.
for everyone's
The
career.
first thing that scared me, and I probably saw it way too young, was Alien.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, my mom, she didn't make me watch movies, but I did like watching them with her. So it was really, really scary for a 7-year-old to be watching that.
Yeah.
Alien, Ridley Scott's best.
The first movie that truly frightened me was a movie called Terror Train. And it starred Jamie Lee Curtis,
Jamie Lee
Scream
Curtis,
Queen. Scream Queen. I was petrified. There was a scene on the train where this girl's hiding from the killer, and she closes like this fence door.
Uh-huh.
And so what the killer does, he has a spear. He pops all the light bulbs on his side of the car. And so it's all dark, and all you see is this spear shooting out from the darkness.
Nice.
I had nightmares for months. I was 8 years old when I saw it.
Not to be confused with the porn parody Terror Train.
It's just a mild difference, right? The first one that I remember, I was 6, and my grandparents had cable, and I walked in exactly as the point of view shot was happening in Halloween, where he grabs the knife out of the drawer and just walks through and starts stabbing people. And that was enough for me as a 6-year-old. I was like, oh, what am I watching? I'd never seen anything like that at all, let alone on the TV. I was like, oh. You know,
So that means your parents were good parents. Grandparents, not so good
yeah,
parents.
grandma didn't care. She's like, oh, are you here? I didn't even realize you were in existence. You know?
Back when I was around 8 years old, we had a brief time where we had the pay channels on cable. And then my parents let me watch The Shining, The Exorcist,
That's bad.
Oh,
marriage.
The Exorcist scared me.
Now,
That was good.
Salem's Lot.
I want to say my mom has this story of she was pregnant with me, and they were watching The Exorcist, and it scared the shit out of her. She's grabbing my dad, digging into his arms. She said it messed her up. It spooked her. The girl pissing on the floor. Every scene. She said it was affecting. She said I really felt like it was affecting. She was just so scared to have me. She really got herself into a tizzy. And then you got to remember, like, my mom was 19 at the time. You know, my dad was like 22. And it was like, yeah, that happened.
Advocacy for teen pregnancy.
Yeah. Well, it was the 70s, man.
That was the thing then, yeah. My parents were 21. You know, everybody was doing it earlier. Well, not doing it, but having kids. They probably started doing it at the same age.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I wanted to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, Kurt, because my mom was a young mother as well, but she loved being terrified. So that's why my love of horror kind of blossomed after I saw Alien, scared the shit out of me, and then I kind of got over it. And I could say, okay, this is all makeup. It's not real, but I mean, it's still tense and all that. Stuff.
You know what? I'm glad you even brought up Alien, because so many people think of it as a sci-fi movie. Definitely a horror movie.
Oh, for sure.
Great horror movie. They're few and far between, and Alien is up there.
Top notch, one of the best.
Going back on topic of, I remember like seeing the Friday the 13th. It was with Bob.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and this was, man, this had to be maybe 82 or something like that. And I believe we were watching it on VHS, or it could have been like even a Betamax or something like that.
Betamax?
Yeah, it was.
Christ.
Yeah, it was.
Dating yourself, buddy.
I'm saying
Yeah.
it was old, and they had old stuff.
I remember that, yeah.
And old stuff, and we were watching this movie, and this was like, it was the first Friday the 13th. So there was the campgrounds and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember we were watching it because it was like, you know, you could see it was like
boobies.
Yeah.
I know.
we were kids. We were like, hey, but it wasn't worth.
It wasn't worth all the slashing.
You were not prepared for the rest of it, right?
You got to work through that. You know what I mean? Any movie is worth seeing.
when you're like 8, 9 years old, that was like it was terrifying.
Well, and that first Friday the 13th was like their first attempt at going with like realistic gore in films, basically for the American audience. So we hadn't seen anything like that at all, and then they did it. You know, it wasn't cheesy like it got later. It was like as realistic as Tom Savini could get the makeup, having seen real life, you know, injuries like that as a Vietnam medic or whatever. So it was like way too realistic for us at 6 and 7 years old.
So true. Yeah. Tom
And
Savini,
it had
the
that
best.
great twist at the ending. I was 8 or 10, so I wasn't expecting it. But it's still a good twist at the end.
You weren't
a great
already sick
scare.
of tropes as an 8-year-old. You're like, oh, I know what's coming now.
I can still remember the scene where I want to say it was Kevin Bacon laying there on the mat and the knife just that's the whole monster under the bed world of fears come rushing in, and I'm like, oh.
I would say that those are definitely thoughts that would have a young Coolwater Kurt looking under his bed in the closet every night, and like even when like you would spend the night and stuff, I still I didn't feel safe. I mean, there's that safety in numbers, but it's still like,
he's gonna kill him and he's gonna kill
they're
me.
gonna get us both.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't have sex till I was like 22.
Yeah, that's why.
Right.
Knife coming up through the bed. Yeah, I'm telling you, man.
It was frightening.
Live my life.
You know, and then they all took it from there, and you know that was the first one basically of that level. I mean, Halloween came first, but they pretty much strayed away from the gore at that point. They weren't getting too into it. You know, even the new one, they mostly stayed away. It was done, in the '70s sort of tastefulness versus a late '80s thing.
Well, there were some blood explosions that I did enjoy as well.
There was a couple, but they didn't.
But they didn't
They
overdo
didn't
it.
like hover on the it didn't show you the actual impacts and stab wounds and things.
Very true.
Like later, some of that later stuff, you could watch this go right into his face.
I'm saying.
I want to take a slight early detour because right now we're talking about there was that realism when it came to a lot of those horror slasher films.
Right.
What movie was it where there was a more comedic side, and then it started turning almost into
Sleepaway
these
Camp.
horror comedies where now you're rooting for Freddy to do something.
Yeah, after A Nightmare on Elm Street 1 and Part 2, I was rooting for Freddy. Seriously.
Well, if you want to talk about the first horror comedy, you got to dial it way back to the original Frankenstein series. Bride of Frankenstein was one of the first black comedies released in this country. And that was what, 1930 something?
35 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was funny. I watched it recently, and
Are you sure
still
you
a
were
good movie.
watching Young Frankenstein?
No.
Yes, because that was sheer comedy.
Even the crazy haircut she had was supposed to be a joke.
Right, but I'm saying when we were watching these slasher films, they were scary. They were scary. I'm assuming at this point they were all rated R, but they could have been PG-13 for some of them.
There was no PG-13 yet.
There was no PG-13.
Yeah.
Not till 85.
Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
That's
Not to
where
mention,
Spielberg.
even today they might allow all the slashing and stabbing, but they still would have to give it an R rating for the nudity,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
which is our backwards system. But there you go.
And the F-bomb.
Yeah. What do you get? One F-bomb?
One.
PG-13?
Or two.
One or two
One
if
or
you could
two.
sneak it in.
If it's creative.
Yeah.
It has to be non-sexual. You
And it
can
has to be non-sexual.
There you go.
you can say "oh fuck," but you can't say "let's fuck." So.
Yeah.
You can prick your finger, but
Gentlemen,
you can't
we
finger
have
your
just moved from
Exactly.
13 to R.
Yeah. We just moved from 13 to R.
Do you remember
Wait,
watching?
we can't say this on YouTube.
Do you remember watching the Friday the 13th in 3D?
I never
Part
saw
three.
it.
I never saw it in 3D.
Didn't either.
Oh man, it's on 3D on the current home video releases. If you want to wear the glasses.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know if you guys remember, but I was not a fan of Jason or Mike Myers. I was big on Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right.
That was my show right
Okay,
there.
and talking about, I want to get back to the 3D in a second, but going with Nightmare on Elm Street when they did the one with Horseshack, what's his name?
That was Friday the 13th. Back up another step.
Yeah.
No.
Horseshack was in Friday the 13th, part 6.
No. Because didn't he play? He played Freddy Krueger. Why am I? I'm
You're
remembering
talking about
this
the
movie.
remake? That wasn't Horseshack. It was the dude from. It was Jackie Earl Haley.
Jackie Earl Haley.
You're talking about
Oh,
Rorschach.
Jackie Earl Haley.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't
yes.
confuse Horseshack
Yes.
and Rorschach. Jeez.
I confused my shack.
Mr. Carter, the world is ending soon. You know.
Exactly. I confused
Not
my
to be
shacks.
confused with Shaq Diesel.
Yeah. I'm the best in the NBA. No, but I remember when what was it called? Like a New Nightmare or something like that?
No, it was actually Nightmare on Elm Street.
Was
Nightmare.
it just Nightmare on Elm Street?
Yeah, a poor remake, and we try not to talk about that one. It's not good.
Yeah.
You know what?
That doesn't count.
Even
It doesn't
as a
count.
fan as I was of the movies, I was not aware that they had done a reboot of that until I saw it online doing research yesterday. I was like,
Oh,
there.
you're serious? They really did a remake?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Oh
was
my.
really
All right.
I had no
It
idea.
was not good.
No, okay.
So
Now,
just strike it from your memory.
Robert Englund says he's ready to go again, though. So they'll probably, since Halloween just made a ton of money, and Robert Englund is wearing the makeup and willing to do it again, I expect
Yeah.
Return of Freddy.
I did see
Please
that. I saw
let
that
that
on.
happen.
I think I saw it on Instagram. He was in the suit, and it was clearly a. Well, he had a sweater on, and
Sweater hat.
Yeah, sweater hat and a glove, and it looked like the glove he got, like how we would buy the glove at like Walmart. It didn't look like
It was like a semi-pro because it was for the Goldbergs, so they had Hollywood gear, but not the real Hollywood gear.
Okay, it did look like he just had that at the house. It was like took the picture. I'm ready.
Yeah, it
Call
probably
me
was
back.
his convention outfit. You're right.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Yeah, you want to take a picture with Freddy?
Freddy. Yeah.
Call me.
You know what horror
Still looks
movie
like
I
that.
loved him in? Was
V? I love V
Been
too.
all that.
no, Robert Englund was in Wishmaster.
Oh, I knew
love
you were
the
going to say that.
Wishmaster series.
That's good. Wishmaster is good.
Yeah.
I have no memory of
Practical
Wishmaster.
effects, man.
What was Wishmaster?
Oh, they accidentally let a genie out, and he's wreaking havoc. And if someone makes 3 wishes, he releases all the genies into our world.
Yeah.
They're all evil and cruel. But Robert Englund was the museum owner,
Yes.
and the artifact that had the genie in it. I don't want to give anything away because if you haven't seen Wishmaster,
And what's great about
It's a
Robert
quality
Englund,
movie.
what was great about that movie is there were a lot of horror icons in that movie. Wishmaster, Tony Todd was in it, as well as a couple others.
Tony Todd from Candyman.
And people say that I look like Tony Todd. Great offense. in
Well,
that.
well, there's a
Yeah.
favoring,
Yeah.
but just like also on the referee in the NFL, you look like your uncle.
Well, you look like Night of the Living Dead Tony Todd, not Candyman Tony Todd.
Thank you, I appreciate that. At least that was 1990.
You look like Tony Todd from The Rock. I don't listen to that soft shit. You're the Rocket Man.
96.
That's
I
you.
did that.
You're the Rocket Man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, swinging back to Friday the 13th 3 and 3D, that was the first time when Jason receives the hockey mask. Am I correct on that, Frank?
Yep.
Awesome.
Oh, really?
That was the one.
Because the hockey mask, that's the
That's the
iconic.
iconic Jason
That's
look.
the Jason look.
In part 2, he had
Line on it.
a potato sack.
Yeah, it was like a
bag
burlap
over it.
sack
A
with
burlap
holes
sack,
in it.
Thank you. I think he had like one hole in it.
yeah, something weird.
Fucking retard.
Yeah, the one eye
Scarecrow?
looked like something Charlie Brown would wear for Halloween.
I got a rock.
Poor Charlie Brown.
Which one was it where he goes to New York?
That was part
All right,
8.
you're jumping ahead. You're jumping
Oh, am
ahead.
I jumping ahead?
We're only
I'm
on
sorry.
4 right
Hey, there's
now.
a whole bunch of Friday the 13th in between there. Come on.
Jason goes to New York.
I'm saying, it's like,
If
what?
you can't,
Did
if
he
you
hop
can
a
make it
ferry?
there, you can make it anywhere.
Oh man! In part 4, the final chapter, when he fought Corey Feldman. Remember, Corey Feldman shaved his head in the mirror and
Looked like Billy Corgan.
I
I don't remember it either.
Well, I feel like I should have. Corey Feldman?
Yeah, really?
Little kid Corey Feldman. This was
Not
right before the
Haim.
Goonies.
Feldman.
Right.
Oh,
Pre
right.
Goonies.
Okay. I still don't remember him.
So he wasn't sleeping in the bed with Michael Jackson yet. Or maybe he was.
He was about to,
Wow.
No, I mean no. It wasn't anything sexual. He would just spend the night
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
And hang out with a
Yeah.
grown man. In
and
his
Yeah,
bed.
drink
in his
wine.
bed.
There's nothing wrong with drinking wine with Michael Jackson and
In
taking a
bed.
nap.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Send your kids over there.
I'm not sending my babies over that freak's house. Oh, much love.
R.I.P. A fitting tribute. All right, new beginning. Jason is dead, so some douchebag named Roy sees fit to throw on a mask and overalls and have at it.
Yes.
And I remember that one had a whole lot of kills in it.
So
They
that
make
was
it people.
like the rebooting of the franchise at this point. So what year does that bring us into?
85.
85.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
God.
they finished it and it was supposed to really be over. Like we're done with it. It's just, and then it made like $30 million. So I said, well, maybe we'll just keep going a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But they had killed their main character and hadn't yet figured out how to bring him back as a zombie. So what do? I'll throw somebody else in the suit. It'll work. As long as they're stabbing at least 12 people per hour, we're good.
Yeah.
12 people per hour. That is hard. And we're sticking to it.
Oh, okay. So then that's what rolls us into Jason Lives then.
Exactly.
Because now he's back. It's the reanimated corpse of Jason Voorhees.
Yeah, I think
Or
he's
was
struck
it-
by
was it-
lightning.
He was struck by lightning.
That's where actual Horseshack comes from Cotter. He was the
Okay.
guy that helped dig him up and winds up and getting killed first by he punches through Horseshack's chest. So there you go.
The unrealism.
Neither Barbarino nor Washington could save him.
And this one, was this one rated R as well, or was this
Yeah.
one the?
They were all rated R. Everything.
They were all R. There was no
Every movie on this
PG-13
list, I
on
think,
these.
was rated R.
Okay, but this one definitely had the more of a comedy vibe to it.
Today I think they could maybe get this one PG-13. I don't think there was
Today
any way
they could play this
make it
on
in there.
FX.
Yeah. In the daytime.
Like, come on, man.
They
FX
cut so
is
much
wild
stuff
now.
I
They
think
let
that
all kind of shit happen on FX.
the least real thing about this was not Jason being brought back to life by lightning, but Horseshack being able to dig up Freddy and not even break a sweat. It's like, come on. That's
Why do you keep saying Freddy? His name is Lee. Goddamn it.
I'm saying, I got Freddy on my mind. Yeah. New Blood. I think that was the next one in the series, part 7.
That one tried to be Freddy. That was the one where they're like, well, Freddy's making more money than Jason now, and Michael Myers was just off in nowhere land. So what do we do? They started giving her superpowers and making her into a Nightmare on Elm Street character.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy. That's right. I do remember this for sure. And,
Like giving him the blink and the nod like Genie and starting to wrap him up with chains and stuff. Like, what is this? What's going on here? And yeah, I had Terry Kaiser as a bad guy because that's what he was in the 80s. But, it's always good to see Terry Kaiser get killed on screen, but they edited it so badly for the actual film that got released that you didn't get the full death of Bernie. It was not good.
And admittedly, these were during those shows where it was pretty much a money grab. Like every one of these movies, after a while, it was like they went so far from the source material, if you want to call it source material.
What are you gonna do?
Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan.
This one I actually saw. I probably stopped watching after part 3 or 4.
Now, were the Muppets in this one?
I think
Yes, they were. Especially the main character.
Now, didn't Jason punch someone's head off in this movie?
He does, yeah.
And
Even in the
it's a black
trailer
guy.
to it.
And it
Oh,
stuck on his hand. And
Yeah.
I remember that.
They think of so many
So
different
at this
ways to
point,
kill brothers.
this
and
was-
Jason Voorhees has supernatural abilities now.
Well, sure, because
Well,
he's been
had
back
him.
from the dead a couple times.
Yeah.
So yeah.
He's also mastered public transportation.
Wow.
Well, and they had no money for this movie, so they wanted to make a movie in New York, but New York was like, you get 5 minutes. That's all you get. It's like, all right, well, we're going to have to film it on a boat for the first 90 minutes of the movie, and then we'll take New York for the end, okay? And so it could have been something cool. It turned out to be really stupid.
Yeah, and it probably still made
Stupid even within
NFC
context of the series, which was kind of stupid to begin with,
Right. And then you start going on to Jason Goes to Hell, and then Jason
Why?
10.
Well, everyone's going.
No, Jason X.
Jason
It was
X.
hardcore time.
This was when he joined the Nation of Islam. Jason X.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, I remember Jason X.
Yeah.
Jason X. What did you? I just got what you said there. Because I was thinking in my head, which one does he go into outer space?
That's Jason
that's
X.
the one.
That's Jason X.
Yep.
Yeah,
That
so
was
they-
terrible.
Yeah, well, it was. They had
They
Lois,
were terrible
the
after
right
like
space.
the third one.
Frank, one of my favorite deaths is in this movie when he puts the
frozen
chick's
face?
head-
Yeah.
the frozen face, and he smashes the face off.
Yeah, see, it had some cool stuff, you know. It also had Jason rocketing down from space like a meteor into the Earth, so, you know.
Even,
And then he was able to come back for Freddy versus Jason.
Well, they said at that point, they said, well, forget the last couple. Those didn't count anyway. All this flexible continuity.
Never happened.
You know, they borrowed the
Yeah.
comic book concept of retcons and go, oh, well, wait, this is what really happened. You know?
This is what really happened.
Halloween
He
was
was
great.
having a Bobby Ewing type dream.
someone was shaking a what do you call it, a snow globe.
Was it like Freddy waking up at the end of the Dream Warriors video? Whoa, what a nightmare.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, but Freddy versus Jason was tongue in cheek. It was done. They had a nice budget on that one too.
Yeah.
And I think Jason technically won the battle, but Freddy had all the one-liners because that's what
Right,
Freddy
because it
does.
was, you know.
Right.
Jason doesn't talk.
Jason doesn't talk. Yeah.
That's why. That's a very good
Actually,
reason
a
why
lot of
Freddy
these guys
now-
don't talk, and that's what, as we get
Yeah.
into Freddy, that was what really set
Yeah.
him apart from the crew. Was that, you know, all these guys were doing the same thing, but he had to joke about it and play with you first.
True.
Yeah.
He spoke to you.
Yeah.
And I would have to say, when it comes to the whole thing, like with Jason's whole vibe, it was like, okay, Kurt, don't go camping. You'll never run into Jason. You'll fly.
Yeah,
And I didn't camp for many, many, many years.
252.
Odds on it. Pull yourself together.